I was a grad student and was a PhD student, was first really studying forests, I was also very involved in environmental issues. Forest issues were a big deal at the time. And I very quickly realized that what I initially had seen as environmental problems also had a big social justice dimension, and that you couldn't really look at the environmental issues separately from their social context. And that was mainly in the context of the Indigenous peoples who had been present for millennia on the landscapes that we were interested in from a conservation perspective. And my concept of the nature of the system that we were working with changed dramatically in response to that. And that has been there all along. There is a great depth of knowledge that comes from multi-generational presence on the land. And by living on the land, close to the land, you can learn things that are very different than we can as scientists by going in quickly and doing research. In fact, the knowledge bases are very complementary. As scientists, we can do things that are hard to do. We can learn things that are difficult to learn from presence on the landscape, and we have a lot to learn as well. In some ways, that's been, I'd say, the most fun part of what I've done, and some of the most rewarding parts have been in conservation efforts, but not just conservation, but also working with the people who have been present on the land and have a lot to teach us about that. And that has many, many dimensions. From we used to think of Indigenous peoples of the Northwest Coast as, called them hunter-gatherers. We didn't imagine that they had a role as managers and stewards of the land, but in fact we now know that they had a deep knowledge of how to interact with the ecosystems they participated in. They had incredible knowledge of many different kinds of management activities, whether that's use of fire to manage forests, intertidal root gardens, managing fisheries, growing, tending plants such as crabapple and things. There's a long history of interaction between people, and the ecosystems that European colonists found when they came here were ecosystems that had been shaped by the presence of people over millennia in many cases. And it's been really interesting to try and tease apart some of those ideas. And it brings you a view of ecosystems where ecosystems and people are not separate. People are part of ecosystems. And that has shaped my view of modern ideas about ecosystem-based management and our place in ecosystems going forward.